Good day, and welcome to Western NRG's Sombrero Brothers Studio for today's Emerging Security Threats webinar. Thank you for joining us today to learn about how you can protect your network from the latest threats in the internet security world. If you have any questions during today's presentation, please enter them into the chat window and we will make sure they get answered. My name is Jack Murphy, and joining me today to discuss this topic is my esteemed colleague, Zach Smith. Welcome to the studio, Zach.
Hi, Jack. I'm super excited to be here with you today and with our audience. Looking forward to taking a look at emerging security threats, what we're seeing out there, and what can be done and implemented to protect against them.
So what boxing internet security lessons are we going to be looking at today, Zach?
We are going to be looking, first of all, at the trends that we're seeing. We're going to see the growth of encrypted traffic. And then we're also going to take a look at zero-day threats, what those are, what the story is there. So the first punch is going to be our left jab, and that's inspecting encrypted traffic. And then we're going to follow that up with a right hook, and that's going to be protecting against zero-day threats.
Sounds powerful. So what threats are we seeing on the streets?
The first and the biggest one is the growth of encrypted traffic. Encrypted traffic is taking off. We've seen it before. It's not the first time, but we're really seeing it explode.
So, Zach, can you clarify for me exactly what an encrypted connection is?
It's a great place to start. An encrypted connection is an end-to-end private conversation between two parties. Nobody can see what's being said in the middle. The most common encrypted connection is the HTTP connection that we make while we're browsing the web every day. The green lock icon that you guys see on the slide here is the hallmark indication that the session that you are established in is an encrypted connection.
Awesome. Thank you for that foundation. Are we seeing this type of traffic grow in volume?
So the estimate is that approaching 70% of all internet traffic is currently being transmitted via an encrypted connection. This number has been growing slowly over the last couple years, but recently it's really begun picking up speed and dominating the majority of traffic.
Wow, that sounds significant. What's an example of encrypted traffic that I may have heard of?
So the first users of encryption were banks. They're an obvious first adopter because you want to keep your banking information secure from those who'd want to exploit it for malicious purposes. So banks encrypt all communications. Super straightforward. The issue is it's not just banks anymore. We've seen encrypted traffic expand to really nearly every major web destination is using an encrypted connection to send and receive data. Social media, news, streaming audio, streaming video, internet search. Google is the biggest one. Every Google browsing session, whether that's a search, Gmail, YouTube, anything Google is done HTTPS. So it's enormous.
So you're saying that places we all visit multiple times a day are using encrypted HTTPS connections?
Yes, sir. And the story doesn't stop there, as this little web illustrates. Not only are major sites using encrypted connections that can't be inspected, but they all make connections to numerous third-party destinations to serve you various content. These sites use third parties to deliver advertising, sports scores, news updates, stock market quotes. And what all that means is, if you look on the screen here, we visited 9 first-party sites, is what we call them. I went to 9 websites, but even though I only connected to 9 sites, that ended up connecting me to 142 third-party websites to bring in all this content. Usually it's advertising, but it's a lot of stuff, like I said. And so while you may or may not know that you're making more and more HTTPS connections, what you almost certainly don't know is how much is happening in the background, and it's enormous.
So the obvious question for me at this point is, why is everything encrypted?
And that's a great question. What's changed that is pushing so many websites to move to encrypted HTTPS connections? The first answer is it's easy to do these days. Previously, it was a complex, expensive, laborious undertaking to get an SSL certificate and configure it, install it on your website. It's such that only financial institutions were doing it because it had to be really worth it to your business to sign up for it and really put in all the work. These days, it's cheap and it's easy. There are even free options available from the likes of let'sencrypt.com. It's the first nonprofit SSL certificate authority. So you can really get not even a dime a dozen. You can get it for free if you want. The second reason is that Google prioritizes search rankings if your site's encrypted as opposed to a comparable site that's not encrypted. So the bottom line is if your website and its traffic is important to your business, which for most people it's at least a small component, and for some people it's the biggest component of lead flow, of people looking at their business, getting information about their business. So anyone who's interested in their web presence is generally moving to an HTTPS connection. Here are some examples of some recent malware exploits and data breaches. Our listeners might be familiar with Heartbleed, CryptoLocker, Java exploits, Flash exploits, and we're almost certainly familiar with the data breaches that took place at some large institutions, Target, Home Depot, Sony Pictures. All of these exploits target large corporations or user populations, and they all have a similar motivation.
Free home goods and movies.
You're really close. Their motivation and reward is very much financial. So they're not just looking to take Target for some goodies or Home Depot for some home improvement. They're looking to get all that valuable information and either use it themselves, or there's a huge economy around malware. They're going to sell that information to other people, make their profit, get out, and it's all someone else's job to use that information maliciously. So there's a huge economy to buy stolen info, make unauthorized purchases, resell those goods on the black market, etc.
Wow, there's a lot going on there. Lots of different ways for hackers to make money.
Yeah. Before we move on from this point, here's just a recent article that highlights how hackers are using the free let'sencrypt.com SSL certificates. In theory, these are great things. It helps everyone be more secure, have secure connections. But hackers are signing up for these and using these to hide their malware inside the encrypted connection. So there was some snickering among our security engineers when this came up. The sarcastic quote was, "Well, who would have predicted that would happen?" It's kind of like, of course, this would happen. If there's a tool for someone to use, then they're going to take advantage of it.
Encryption is clearly a big deal. What other hacking growth are we seeing out there?
The other major area that we're seeing growth in is zero-day threats. Zero-day threats have always been around. They're not this isn't a brand new thing per se, but in the past year, they've really taken off.
So let's dive in. In simple terms, explain to me what a zero-day threat is. It sounds intense.
It is kind of intense. As a zero-day threat is a piece of malware that's never been seen before. It's brand new. It's not known to any threat detection platform, and this means it won't be blocked when it goes to enter a network. And if you're a hacker, that's the dream, man. You have a piece of malware that nobody's seen, nobody's heard about, and nobody's going to stop from going into a network. That's the ideal if you're a hacker.
So what types of things are these zero-day threats doing?
So ransomware is absolutely the most common type of zero-day threat. Ransomware is a virus that locks down your files and demands a ransom payment in order to regain access to them. The financial reward from ransomware is considerable, and like I said, zero-day attacks aren't a brand new thing, but in 2016, the SonicWall Threats Research Team observed a 167 times year-over-year increase in the number of ransomware attacks that were delivered. So this financial motivation to get someone to pay you to, release their system back to them is really incentivizing hackers to go after it.
Absolutely. That's a huge increase in ransomware attacks. In real numbers, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, in 2015, there were 4 million ransomware attacks. In 2016, there were 630 638 million ransomware attacks. So 4 million to 638 million, that's how I'm getting that 167 times number. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. With so much money on the line for businesses and for users, hackers are eager to grab what they can before organizations get security in place. We're continuing to see ransomware growth so far in 2017 as well. Users, we hear stories, on a regular basis of people saying, "I got hit. I need to do something. I got hit. I need to do something." So the growth has not stopped by any means.
So how's the number of zero-day threats growing so rapidly?
That is an excellent question. And the answer is, you used to have to create a brand new virus to get a zero-day exploit, and that was a lot of work. But what hackers are doing these days is they're creating variants of their existing viruses. It's the same virus, essentially. It's going to perpetrate the same attack once it gets into the network, but it's just a different flavor. It just looks sufficiently different to bypass the system, but ultimately it's going to be perpetrating the same type of thing.
How efficient.
Right? Yeah. You can't blame them. They put all the work in to create the virus, and now they're just want to make the most of it. Another reason ransomware is growing is you can actually buy your own ransomware kit these days. You don't even need to create it yourself. The Jigsaw ransomware, for example, is actually a great example of this. This is created by a smart hacker who is now selling it to other small-time coders who can just make some minor tweaks, and then it's all theirs. People will get infected, and then all the money for that will go to their next, go to this new bank account that the small-time coder put in there. So it's there's a whole, like I said before, there's a whole economy around this that's really expanding.
Well, these are obviously some serious problems. So let's talk solutions. What's our first punch, the left jab?
The first and the most important thing that we need to do is inspect encrypted traffic. And we do this with DPI-SSL.
So what's DPI-SSL?
So let's start by defining this alphabet soup. It's a mouthful of a term. DPI means deep packet inspection. This is the process of scanning all the way into a packet, into the data portion, and making sure that it doesn't contain any malicious data. Deep packet inspection looks deep into the contents of a packet to make sure there's nothing malicious inside. SSL stands for Secure Sockets Layer. Also, TLS is another alphabet soup, Transport Layer Security. These are the protocols that are deployed when making an HTTPS, FTPS, SMTPS connection. So SSL basically stands for Encrypted. Deep packet inspection is the type of inspection that you're running today if you're running a SonicWall firewall and have security services license. It's a very fast and efficient way to inspect data. The shortcoming is today it's only doing it on standard traffic, not on encrypted traffic. So that's where DPI-SSL comes in. SSL, cryptographic protocols, these are used to secure data communications between two parties. And when they're exchanging communication, they're able to do so in a secure fashion.
Thank you for the breakdown. Why should our listeners get DPI-SSL?
As we looked at earlier, it's estimated that 70% of all internet traffic is transmitted via an encrypted connection. That's a huge amount of data that's coming in and out of our networks every day. Hackers are getting wise to the fact that they can hide their malware in these HTTPS connections. And that means that a hacker can slip a malicious file into this connection, into a website or download, and it won't be seen by traditional firewall technology. That's a huge cause for concern for all of us. The logic chain is security depends on inspection. Encryption is blocking that inspection by making the only people who can see it is the person on the server end, the person on the client end. So the website and the web browser. We're at the point where you need to be able to look inside, and DPI-SSL enables inspection on encrypted traffic.
This whole story, this whole development is pretty concerning. a lot of data we're moving around isn't necessarily secure.
Yeah, you're spot on, and it is scary. The silver lining, the good news, is that we've actually seen it before. The cycle of new threats and security measures is something that it's come and gone before. So previously, we just did stateful packet inspection. All we did was check the tag on the outside of the packet to see if it looked okay. If it looked okay, we let the packet go in without even looking inside the packet. Then hackers started hiding bad stuff inside. We're like, oh, this is clearly not sufficient. We need to be looking inside the packet. So that's where deep packet inspection came into play. And now we're just at the point where we need to be doing that same deep packet inspection on SSL traffic. Previously, SSL traffic was okay because really only one very small segment of internet traffic was using it, financial institutions, and we knew we could trust them. But now, since it's expanded so much, we need to expand our security reach to be looking inside it.
So how does DPI-SSL accomplish its mission?
The SonicWall needs to become the trusted intermediary, the trusted resource in the middle of the connection that allows the inspection and the verdict to take place. Once you establish this explicit trust between your endpoint and the SonicWall, using a SonicWall DPI-SSL certificate authority, then the SonicWall is cleared by your computer, your workstation, your endpoint to be looking inside encrypted traffic before delivering it. That's in a nutshell how it delivers the security. What DPI-SSL does is it turns this encrypted gibberish that we see on the left-hand side into legible information that can be scanned for malicious content. So if we look in the left box, that there is totally unreadable. I can't make any sense of it, and therefore I can't take any actions based on it. But once we enable DPI-SSL, we're enabled to decrypt that traffic, and we turn it into left to right, legible. We can see everything that's there, and therefore we can see if there's a virus in there or not, and we'll block it if we need to.
So how does DPI-SSL get deployed on a network?
Deployment looks like this. We're going to make sure that the firmware is upgraded as necessary. You need to have a certain version of firmware to enable this feature. Then we'll complete the configuration on the SonicWall itself, and we'll generate a unique certificate authority for the DPI-SSL will use to establish itself as the trusted intermediary. Then we'll go to deploy that certificate to each endpoint on the network so that everyone has that trust of the SonicWall. And then we'll test that in a limited group to make sure that we're seeing the results that we want to, work on any kinks if there are any, and then we'll go to a full deployment of the solution so that the entire network is protected.
It's a solid left jab. Tell me about the right hook that follows. How do we stop the zero-day threats?
The answer to zero-day threats is capture ATP, and that stands for Capture Advanced Threat Protection. I know you were wondering.
Mind reader.
Let's brush up on our zero-day threat foundation. Definition of a zero-day threat is a piece of malware that's never been seen before. Hackers are mutating existing viruses, which is resulting in a huge amount of growth of how many we're seeing. And zero-day threat volume, last year, SonicWall observed 60 million unique pieces of malware. At some point, every single one of those was brand new, never seen before. Every single one of those was a zero-day threat at some point. So, the volume is just incredible.
So how does Capture ATP augment the gateway antivirus that we're already using today?
Yeah, really, really great call out. The gateway antivirus is an incredibly effective solution. It's signature-based and extremely capable at blocking known viruses. To the tune of 7.9 billion attacks in 2016, actually. So this is great. It's blocking a whole ton of attacks, but because it's signature-based, it means that somebody has to get infected for that signature to get created. And so none of us is raising our hand to be that first person to be infected. So that's how Capture ATP fits into the story, is it's going to come in and protect that last mile of what about these brand new viruses?
So go a little deeper on that for me, Zach. How does Capture ATP address the gap?
Capture ATP tackles the zero-day threat by detonating and inspecting the questionable file before it's allowed into the network.
Walk us through it.
So here's the logic chain. If a file comes in and it's never been seen before by the grid network, it's going to be uploaded to the Capture Cloud Sandbox for review and for verdict. So that's where it's going to be, they use the word detonated. They're going to take that file, they're going to go ahead and open it on a one-time use system in the cloud and see how the file behaves. Is the file going to just open and display text and pictures, or is it going to open, display text and pictures, but then is it in the background trying to replicate itself, trying to spread to other network shares, trying to edit the Windows registry? What's this file doing when it's actually in a system? And so after it's made that determination in a safe environment, totally separate from your production business network, it's going to deliver that verdict back to your SonicWall appliance, which will then block or deliver that file. Here's a visual illustration. If a file's coming into the network on the left-hand side, it's going to come into the SonicWall from the website. The SonicWall is going to say, I can't be certain that this is bad already. I can't be certain it's good, so I'm going to send it to the Capture Cloud Sandbox. They're going to tell me if it's good or bad, and then it's going to come back down to the SonicWall, and it's either going to be discarded if it's malicious, or it's going to be passed through to the person who requested it if it's found to be all good.
So what are the details of how Capture delivers the protection?
So Capture is a full-service network sandbox. It has all the necessary components of an effective sandboxing solution. It's multi-engine. It has the ability to inspect numerous environments and operating systems. You can block a file until you have a verdict delivered, and it delivers rapid responses to new threats. So let's take a look at them one by one.
So Capture uses more than one inspection engine to analyze files?
Yes. So it has a proprietary sandboxing solution developed by SonicWall, but it also integrates two other industry-leading inspection engines into Capture. That way you're not just getting the benefit of one system, you're getting the benefit of three. An analogy for what this looks like is if you're a doctor, they're using different tools at their disposal to diagnose an ailment.
So Capture is looking at a file three different ways to see what's going on using multiple scanning methods?
Exactly. So, like here in the example, we're going to look at the physical layer. Okay, how's the hand feel? Do I feel any broken bones? What's going on here? Okay, let me get an X-ray to make sure, see I can see what the bone structure is doing. And then an MRI to see, at the tissue layer, what's going on there. So we're using these three different methods that are looking at a file, slicing it different ways. And that way we can, be more effective in finding out what's really at the root of it.
And can our viewers be confident that the operating systems and file types that they use will be supported?
Yeah, it's important question to ask. Capture supports files from all the usual suspects, Windows operating systems, Mac OS, Android as well, and Capture supports all of the most popular file types that contain suspicious files, PDFs, Word documents, PowerPoint, Excel, zip archives, and more than that as well. All the most popular ones that we're seeing that malware is being hidden inside.
Very good. What sort of quarantining capability does Capture have?
Yeah, with Capture, you have the ability to hold a packet at the gateway until a verdict is returned from the Capture Cloud Sandbox. This allows you to maintain security until you know what the packet contains. And this is a very intuitive feature. Until you know one way or another, just hold it at the gate. Don't let the file in until I know if it's good or bad. But this isn't offered by pretty much all our competitors in the marketplace. I think there's a technical hurdle to overcome holding that piece of information. So what they'll do is they'll let the packet in, and then 5 minutes later, they'll tell you, oh, just found out that packet's bad. You should probably go do something about that. So our solution is definitely superior in that you can say, hold this up, wait until we know to let it in. Before, that way we're avoiding any havoc that might ensue.
All right. Last question on Capture. how does Capture leverage its advanced capabilities to help others respond to new threats?
Capture uses a mechanism called hashing to save time and share newly identified threat info. Super cool technology. It's not a brand new technology, but in terms of application to this, it's totally cutting edge. And you have the immediate advantage of knowing what's happening on other Capture-enabled SonicWalls. The concept looks like this. Instead of every time a file being uploaded to Capture Cloud Sandbox, what Capture does is take a unique snapshot and send that file very quickly to Capture Cloud Sandbox. That way, we can see if the file in question has never been seen before, and if it has, then we'll share the verdict. We won't even need the entire file. So basically, instead of sending this entire person up to the sandbox, we're just going to take a little piece of the DNA, totally unique to them, and send that first to say, hey, have you ever seen this DNA before? Oh, I actually have, and it's bad. Don't let it in. And you don't even need to send me the file because I already saw it. I know it's bad. Or it's, oh, I've seen this DNA before, and this guy's totally harmless. Go ahead. Or it'll say, thanks for the DNA, but I have never seen this at all. You need to send me the whole thing. And then it'll upload the entire file and run the analysis on it.
These features look awesome, Zach. How can our viewers get started on implementing these to protect their networks?
The first step is to contact one of our customer advocates. They will assist in reviewing your organization's size, usage, the processing requirements, licensing needs, and then help you plan for configuring and deploying these features.
So when we do deploy these new features, what does the rollout look like?
It's a multi-step approach to implementation. We start by making sure that your SonicWall is on the proper version of firmware. We're configuring the settings on the appliance. We're going to test in a limited environment, and then we're going to gather all the results and make sure everything's running smoothly. And then finally, we'll deploy it to all the endpoints and then make any adjustments as necessary. Our goal is to make the adoption of the new feature very smooth, very seamless, and we've done this, so many times that we've really found the best way that we can do a lot of work on the front end, deploy, make sure we're on the right track, and then go to a full deployment.
Fantastic, Zach. Thank you very much for all this great information. It looks like we do have some questions from the audience. As mentioned previously, if you have a question, please enter it into the chat window. We will get you an answer. Our first question comes from Eric, and Eric has a two-part question. It sounds like the Capture sandboxing happens automatically each time it needs to. Is that correct? And also, can I upload a file manually if I want?
Great question. So you are absolutely correct on part A. This is happening automatically as files are coming into the network. We're automatically saying, I've never seen this before, so yes, this needs to go to Capture. So it's going to happen automatically in the background, so you won't need to take any action there. If you do have a suspicious file that you're like, I really want this to be looked at closer, administrators can manually submit files to the cloud sandbox for analysis. So you can use this both automatically for stuff going in and out of your network every day, and we got something suspicious, instead of opening it on your computer, send it up to the Capture Cloud Sandbox computer, and it'll open it up for you.
Awesome. Next question is, are all of the SonicWall models capable of DPI-SSL inspection and Capture ATP?
Great question. I see that came from Randy. Randy, not every single model. These are new features. So if you have a current SonicWall, you're absolutely good to go. This is where our customer advocacy team can really help because there's some particulars. So the bottom, as a general rule, if you have a Generation 6 SonicWall, you're totally in the clear. And if not, then you're sort of in a gray zone. And the bottom line is our customer advocates will absolutely help you find what you can do on your SonicWall today, if you need to make any licensing changes to get it configured. So please reach out with your SonicWall model, and we'll take it from there.
Awesome. Thanks, Zach. Our next question comes from Peter. Peter says, I'm concerned about the encrypted traffic growth. The majority of the sites I visit are HTTPS. Are you saying that these sites aren't being scrutinized currently?
Yeah, Peter, unfortunately, the answer is yes. HTTPS was designed so that no one could look at the traffic. It was made to be totally secure end-to-end. And when it was originally implemented, there wasn't an issue because we were only initiating those kind of connections with people who we did trust. But now we're at the point where everybody and their brother is using it. You can even get it for free. So now we do need to be inspecting HTTPS traffic, and that's where DPI-SSL comes in.
Next question here is from Laura. Laura's asking, how often does the capture service kick in?
That is a great question. SonicWall actually did a little bit of a case study. If you look at the handouts today, one of them is an infographic that you can take a look at. The bottom line is SonicWall did a case study on 300 companies. They found about 18,000 unique files were coming through. Out of those, 2,500 had never been seen before, so a solid contingent of those had never been seen before, and there were 6 brand new viruses that were found as a result of that. So take that, that obviously that's a cross sampling of just a couple hundred companies and a couple thousand files. How often does it happen? The bottom line is there's a lot of zero-day threats. Hackers are creating new viruses every day. And when they do create one, they're tweaking it so that they can get the maximum reach out of it possible. So capture service is kicking in quite regularly for customers who do have it deployed.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Zach. And it does look like that's all the time we have for today. I do want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar, and I'd like to assure you that if you have a question that we didn't have time to answer, we will circle back with you via email and get you that answer. I would like to thank Zach Smith for joining us today in the Sombrero Brothers studio, and wish everyone a fantastic day.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.